The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
What's up, everybody? This is Young Lion King Carl Fredericks, and you're listening to Keepin It Strong Style.
Yo, this is Rich Latta from One Nation Radio. This is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We present to you the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Let's go. It's the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Covering New Japan, they ready to hold it down. Jeremy, Donovan, and the young boy Josh. Come and hit a job out and bury all the frauds. From the Tokyo Dome over to the G1. Social Suplex is the network where we can get it done. I'ma chill and let them have it, cause this is just an intro. Keeping the strong style, 6 stars from the get-go, boy. Yeah, from Tampa Bay to the Tokyo Dome, this is Keeping It Strong Style with your hosts, Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Joshua Smith. And thank you for listening.
Welcome to Keeping It Strong Style, the Ace of Podcasts on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Jeremy Donovan here with the young boy Josh Smith. On today's show, we'll be discussing the latest COVID update, NJPW Strong, Moxley versus Nagata, answering your questions and covering all latest news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. You can support our show by subscribing to the Social Suplex Podcast Network or to Keeping It Strong Style on the podcast app of your choice and leaving a rating and review. You can also get all the podcasts and columns over at socialsuplex.com. Check out our Pro Wrestling Tees store, proWrestlingTees.com/socialsuplex. That's where you can get your official Keeping It Strong Style t-shirt. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider making a one-time or monthly donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and clicking the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. This week's episode is brought to you by the NJPW EXT, the only browser extension for NJPWWorld.com with features like dark mode, improved translations and layouts, custom and shared playlists, synchronized viewing parties, and much, much more. It takes NJPW World to the next level. You can visit njpwext.us today for details. Young boy, happy early birthday, man. How you doing?
That's right. That's right. It's going to be my birthday. Thanks, man. So what did you and the listeners get me?
Well, I don't know what the listeners got you, but I mean, there is a gift for you. One of your gifts is arriving tomorrow.
Oh, bro, I was just joking. You don't have to give me anything. What the heck?
Well, I already did. So the deed's done.
Nice. Well, that'll be cool. Yeah, man. This coming weekend, we got the Joshua Smith, age 33, Brew Hop tour in Dunedin, Florida. Yeah, we're gonna hit all 8 breweries in the greater Dunedin area, downtown, over I don't know, like 6-7 hour period. And I've got it mapped out, literally place to place, by the minute, how much time we're spending in each location, what the travel times are, walking distances. So I've got the whole thing set, so that's where we're gonna be. Social Suplex will be in full effect Saturday night.
Yeah, Social Suplex, Largo Loop will be out to celebrate Joshua Smith, 33 years old, the oldest 33 years old, will do his best that day.
Yeah, the oldest 33-year-old out there. Yeah, man. And, I've got a game plan going because, 8 breweries is a lot. But I'm also thinking over 7-hour period. That's quite a lengthy, that's a lot of length. So what I'm going to do here is to make sure that I don't get completely tanked on my birthday. I'm going to probably keep it around the 4 to 5% range, right? Mm-hmm. Sours, maybe lagers, that sort of thing. And I'm going to limit myself to 1 drink per place. I might even go get those little goblets, like the half servings. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Keep it chill because I don't want to be looking a fool the way I did on my 30th birthday. Because on my 30th birthday, it was not good.
Oh, man. But yeah, should be a fun time hanging out with the crew. I think most of us are all vaccinated that are going out. So
some of us are vaccinated and we're still not going out, apparently.
Yeah, well, nothing's changed for James Boyd. COVID, COVID. That man is staying in the house.
That's not true. He has attended other birthdays of mine that were out and about in the wild, but I don't know. I guess like, you know, you get used to a certain lifestyle and then, you know, and, you know, that kind of reminds me of what we're going to talk about here today. You know, the more things seem to change, the more they seem to just stay the same. And it's about literally a year ago that we were doing shows where there's no shows running. There's no shows upcoming. What the fuck are we going to talk about?
Yeah,
and
man.
Here we are again, man.
Yeah, very crazy. Around the same time, you know, we had to kind of like scramble first couple weeks, did a couple random shows, and then we did the final countdown, Best of Super Juniors review of all the finals. Then we did the voting gimmick. We talked about AJ Styles, Nakamura, Shibata. So that was a lot of fun. But I mean, we do have New Japan Strong to talk about in the coming weeks. We also got a few other things planned for you, especially for next week. We got a interview lined up for you guys, and that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I mean, depending on how things go, we might need to start stocking up on those interviews. You know, it's something that like we've always been able to do. We just like, I don't know, we're lazy. Like we just don't.
Well, I mean, on normal weeks, I mean, we're 3 hours, you know, covering everything that's going on in New Japan, especially this past year with so many Road to shows and tours and stuff like that. Even just our whole run, I mean, there's always been plenty of content to talk about, and so it's kind of hard to fit in, you know, the interviews and do these extra content, but especially like during these lifetimes that we definitely need them.
Here's the thing, though, is like you and I, man, we're professionals. If we needed to chop this thing down to 2 hours, we legit could. It's just we enjoy the art of the conversation. We just talk and talk and talk. And it's not like we're limiting ourselves or holding ourselves back. Like if we wanted to do a smooth 1 hour podcast, I'm sure we could fucking do it. And same thing with having guests on, you know what I mean? Like give them 30, 45 minute, you know, main event slot, you know, I can open up for that shit. That's fine.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see what the game plan is going forward, but we do have an interview locked in for next week. But
I mean, it's next week. Are we gonna tell people like who it is? I mean, it's.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna wait until we got to Strong, but should I just go ahead and let?
Okay. No. You run this show. Like that's fine. I thought you were just holding off in general. I'm like, bro, it's next week. Like.
No. I was gonna wait till we get to Strong to announce who was coming on the show next week.
Nice. So if you're just listening now, you know, make sure you stay on with us till at least we get to Strong, so you can figure out who the fuck it is.
Right. We gotta hook them. Tease them out through the show. Make sure they watch through all the quarter hours.
No, bro, that's not how podcasts work. We get their download, and then we get paid off the advertising for that. That's about it. Like we're good.
Nah, man, I'm trying.
If you're clicked on this shit, like we got you.
I'm trying to get these demos. I'm trying to get that 18 to 49. Make sure the quarter hour 4 is up.
I feel very, very strongly that the 18 to 49 demo is exactly that's 98% of our demo target audience, Jeremy.
Well, I gotta make sure that they stay strong. They're not jumping podcasts. We gotta hook them, man.
Like I really do wonder how many minors and over 50s are actually listening to this podcast. I would venture to say over under 5. Do you think that there's...
I know Spotify does offer demographics, so I'll have to look at our Spotify numbers and see like where we're at with the demos there. It kind of gives you a baseline of kind of what your show does across all platforms. So, but yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I guess that's a good way to do it, I suppose.
I think like 18 to 34 is definitely like the core listener base.
It would have to be.
But yeah, we have to talk about the latest COVID update and what's going on in New Japan Pro Wrestling. So if you haven't been paying attention, you're kind of checked out and not sure what's going on, got the update here for you. There's been 3 COVID reports since we last talked to you guys last week. So first update came from May 5th, and this is from straight from.
When you said May, I was thinking like Harold May, and I was like, oh god, he's back.
No, not from Harold May. This update was posted on May 5th, and all this is coming from NJPW1972.com. So first update here: 2 NJPW wrestlers have tested positive for COVID-19. All New Japan Pro Wrestling talent is subject to daily temperature monitoring as well as blood oxygen saturation checks and frequent testing. Before the Road to Dontaku tour began, all wrestlers and staff returned negative PCR tests, clearing them for competition. On the morning of May 4th, Wrestling Dontaku Day 2 event, 2 wrestlers presented a high temperature. And according to protocol, they were taken for immediate testing, while those had close contact with individuals in the last 2 events were removed from proceedings. NJPW has learned that the individuals' tests were positive for COVID-19. The 2 are currently experiencing mild symptoms and are acting under medical advice for treatment and recovery. Other wrestlers, as well as staff who have been in contact with the individuals, are currently being thoroughly monitored in a controlled environment and receiving relevant tests. Updates will be provided in due course. New Japan Pro Wrestling apologized for the inconvenience as concern caused by the sudden card change in the news. As stated on the May 4th event, in addition to aforementioned regular health monitoring, the requirement of masks during warm-ups and backstage, as well as the provision of packaged food to minimize outside interactions, are all enforced at New Japan Pro Wrestling events. Moving forward, NJPW will look forward to improve its COVID-19 countermeasures and do everything possible to ensure staff, wrestler, and fan safety. Once again, deeply apologize for the concern caused to fans and personnel and ask for understanding. So like I said, that was May 5th. That was kind of the first announcement we got. We knew watching Dontaku Night 2 that wrestlers got pulled. There was a card shakeup. They were experiencing fever, and then we found out it was actually 2 of the guys actually tested positive for COVID.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was, the initial kind of thing. We had already kind of discussed this last week when we saw, certain wrestlers pulled from the card. I mean, the junior, the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title match was scrapped altogether, so that kind of tells you, that. And we knew that individuals that were involved in that 6-man tag were kind of held back, plus some of the other preliminary wrestlers. So, I mean, you can kind of do the math and figure out who that's related to. I've heard rumors. I mean, you and I haven't talked, so I've heard rumors of who the 2 individuals were. I haven't seen any corroborated, reports though that state specifically who the initial 2 were. I think we kind of speculated last week on the air, but
right.
It's kind of interesting because they've been pretty forthcoming about. I mean, this right here, everything that they just printed in this initial press release is much more forthcoming and transparent than the other big 2 companies or any of the other wrestling companies. And I'm saying that unbiasedly. It tells you exactly. It gives you a clear picture of what the protocols are, what they did, what they've been doing to prevent, any kind of outbreaks, and then, what's kind of occurred. But it is interesting that they haven't released any names, I guess, for probably privacy or maybe I don't know if they have HIPAA over there, but, stuff to that extent,
Right. Yeah. Like you, I have seen 2 names that have been heavily rumored to be the initial 2 that have tested positive for COVID. I've seen some of the low-level dirt sheets kind of running with that information and putting that out there, and people believing it, but New Japan has not released the names. There's nothing been official. I haven't seen anything from the, highly accredited news sources like Dave Meltzer, any of those, Sean Ross Saps. I haven't seen anything come from those guys on confirmed. These are the names. New Japan hasn't said anything. So as of right now, the initial 2 names are just kind of rumored names based off of people pulled from the card.
The only thing we had heard from individuals close to the company is that they were intentionally keeping the names out of the public, to respect the wishes of those that were involved. So, I mean, I don't think you have to be a rocket science to figure out who got pulled from night 1 to night 2 of Dontaku or anything like that. But, me personally, I kind of err on the side of if those names are out there, I'd say it. But I actually we don't have any corroborated reports to actually declare this is in fact who was infected. So, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and be like X, Y, and Z wrestler had it, because I don't actually know.
Right.
And that is the truth. If it was out there and it was public knowledge, then we would just say it.
Right. Yeah. So then blow number 2 here in this COVID news came a couple days later.
Here, I'll read this one. I want to get some reading in.
All right, go for it.
Hooked on Phonics. May 7th, Friday, May 7th, the Japanese government announced an extension to the state of emergency currently in place in Tokyo and other prefectures in light of this announcement, as well as current COVID-19 infection status. In order to prevent any potential further spread of the virus, New Japan Pro Wrestling has arrived at the decision to postpone the Wrestle Grand Slam events in Yokohama Stadium and the Tokyo Dome, previously scheduled for May 15th and the 29th, respectively. NJPW deeply apologizes to all fans looking forward to these events for the inconvenience and disappointment caused. New dates for both events are currently being finalized. More information will follow as soon as it becomes available. All tickets for both events will be valid. Please retain your ticket. Any ticket holder who cannot attend on the rescheduled date will be eligible for a refund. At present, we ask for your understanding and patience until rescheduled dates are confirmed. Keep checking back on NJPW1972.com for further information on Wrestle Grand Slam, as well as other events on the NJPW schedule going forward.
Yeah, so Wrestle Grand Slam, we already had the Road to Wrestle Grand Slam shows canceled due to the state of emergency. And so now Yokohama Stadium canceled, Tokyo Dome canceled. And like you mentioned at the top of the show, very airy, very similar to last year where we kind of concluded, was at the New Beginning tour, getting ready for New Japan Cup, a really big show, and then canceled due to COVID. And now here we are again a year later, just finished up the Wrestling Dontaku tour. A lot of great buzz coming off the Ospreay Shingo match. And now these 2 big shows off the map here.
So we've decided to do Simply the Best. This is a Best of the Super Juniors tag team tournament recap. So we're going to go through the history of New Japan. We're going to recap every single Best Super Juniors tag title tournament and, all the finals. And we're going to redo the Tina Turner Simply the Best song for that one. So you guys look forward to that. There's going to be some bangers in that one.
Yeah, about that.
No, but yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's very similar circumstances. Obviously, I don't think by any stretch of the imagination that the company is shutting down or anything like that during this time. The reality is there's an outbreak in the company, leaving them with less people to perform. Because if you kind of compare what's going on, the lockdown that they've kind of imposed has basically just made it to where you can't have greater than 5,000 attending to a show. And we've seen plenty of shows this year with New Japan, especially in Tokyo and Cork and Hall, where they've had quite a few less than 5,000. The reason they're not currently holding shows is simply because, well, I think they were planning to run the 2 big stadium shows. That kind of got thrown out the window. I'm assuming that because that got thrown out the window, any potential dates on their regular haunts like Corkin and different places in the area, those dates are probably filled. So they probably don't have an immediate, opportunity to just jump in and start doing road 2s. Plus, what is it even pointing to? There's a lot of questions to be answered. I think they kind of got to get their feet back underneath them. But number 3, the biggest one is they need talent to perform and to draw, and they have an outbreak of COVID-19 within the company. And I think that they're trying to stay socially responsible for the fans in attendance. I mean, how can you ensure the safety of those attending when the people performing could potentially be, exposed? And then, the same thing with the actual performers and the staff themselves, just making sure everybody's healthy and good to go. And so I think that's kind of the reason why right now there's no current dates even, listed.
Right, yeah, all the May dates are canceled. As of right now, it seems like the June dates are in place with Dominion and the Kazuna Road Tour, but obviously cards have to change. It could change it all up depending on when they're going to reschedule Yokohama Stadium and the second Tokyo Dome show. I don't know if they're going to come back and just stick with the schedule and then maybe do those shows at the end of the summer, or maybe flip-flop and come right back to Yokohama and Tokyo Dome and then do Dominion later, like kind of they had to set up with their schedule. So it'll be interesting to see what happened. Obviously, Kazuchika Okada was one of the guys that was pulled off of that Night 2 card, and he was main eventing the Tokyo Dome. So like you mentioned, you got to have these names. You got to have guys that can draw, and they potentially could not have had one half of their big main event there in the Tokyo Dome. So makes a lot of sense here to while they're canceling these shows.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess I'm kind of like jumping the gun here because I'm assuming this next report is about the other individuals that have kind of outbroken with COVID. I'm assuming.
Yeah, so then May 9th, 2 days later after the Tokyo Dome and Yokohama Stadium report, got another update from NJPW1972.com. Says, as a result of PCR testing conducted across the roster following the May 4th Wrestling Dontaku event in Fukuoka, New Japan Pro Wrestling has learned of 7 positive tests for COVID-19. As previously reported, 2 wrestlers who presented with a fever on the day of May 4th event were immediately tested in accordance with COVID protocols, with the tests returning positive. In light of this news, all those who had close contact with the infected parties, in addition to every wrestler on the roster, received PCR tests, with a further 7 wrestlers testing positive. All those who tested positive are experiencing mild symptoms or are asymptomatic. According to protocols and under medical advice, all are isolating and receiving appropriate treatment. New Japan Pro Wrestling has a strictly implemented COVID-19 policy drawn up under expert advice and guidance. This includes daily temperature and blood oxygen saturation checks, as well as regular PCR testing. All attendees are temperature screened on entry to venues. Masks are required during training, and backstage and packaged food is provided in order to limit unnecessary movement outside. However, we take these developments extremely serious and are working to further strengthen our COVID-19 countermeasures in the future. NJPW deeply apologizes for the concern caused to fans and personnel and asks for your understanding.
So yeah, I mean, there's some things to kind of unload when it comes to everything that we've just heard. So I mean, I kind of alluded to this just a moment ago, the fact that there's been an outbreak in New Japan, and it's one of those things where wrestling is a high risk activity when it comes to transmission of COVID-19 or coronavirus, just because we know that this thing is spread through droplets and breath and air particles, that sort of thing. And I mean, these guys are literally on top of each other, breathing on each other, sweating profusely, gasping and everything like that. So I mean, this was probably at some point bound to happen. The big difference, to the best of our knowledge, doesn't mean it couldn't have possibly happened in the past, but up till now, there haven't been any situations where positive tests have become public knowledge or, occurred with New Japan. And one thing I will commend them on is just the way they've handled COVID-19 in general, but B, the fact that there have been multiple outbreaks with both AEW and WWE and by extension NXT over the past year. I mean, many, many, many of them. I don't think at any point you ever saw either of those two companies coming out, putting out public statements and actually numbering the amounts of people that were affected by coronavirus. You know what I mean?
Right. It's always been kind of hush-hush. Cars just randomly change with no explanation, and you assume you look at who's missing, like, oh well, they probably have it.
Now, I will say, like with AEW, they have definitely had moments where when individuals want to come forward and say that they've had coronavirus, there've been no repercussions for that, and it's like for instance, when certain individuals thought that they might have had it and just came in contact and have pulled themselves, like Jon Moxley and others, the company has been more than willing to say that. But they've never come out and been like, these 8 individuals or, whatever the case is. Same thing with NXT. And we know that just from the reports and from the people we talked to in the company, there have been so many outbreaks
right.
with fans and wrestlers in NXT. So, I mean, I think it is commendable for New Japan. I think on the surface, someone looking on the outside could see and they're like, oh my God, 7 people got corona. Well, it's like, yeah, up to now, to the best of our knowledge, only 7 people have gotten it. And the company is being completely outright, honest and forthcoming about the fact that this is what has happened. Here's what we've done to prevent it. Here's what we're doing going forward, which I think is great, I think even I've had some qualms about the testing procedures in the past, and I think that they're pretty much laying out what goes on. They say that they're getting quote unquote regular PCR testing. What does that mean exactly? We don't know. What we do know is it does not mean that they're getting tested before every show. They're not. Most likely, to me, it sounds like they're getting tested at the beginning of tours before they join the tour, and then they're probably trying to live in a bubble.
Right. Like in that first statement in May 2nd, it said that testing was done at the beginning of the Road to Wrestling Dontaku tour. So, yeah, from that reading, it sounds like, all right, at the beginning of the tour, we're going to test you. And then, yeah, you kind of – I remember earlier last year they were talking about tracking where they're going to make sure that they can kind of do the contact tracing. So, it sounds like you get tested at the beginning of the tour and then kind of do that contact tracing to make sure you're not going kind of outside the bubble. So –
yeah, and I think that they're handling this with as much, dignity and responsibility as they possibly can. I don't want to diminish COVID-19 by any stretch of the imagination. My girlfriend works in the medical field, and so we know firsthand the impact that this can have on people's lives and everything like that. I think the good thing here, though, is, generally speaking, just based on numbers, individuals who are in good health, within this age range, statistically shouldn't have too many, long-term issues. And from the reports I've seen for the individuals that did contract this, that the reports are going on about, they've kind of said that most of them just had mild symptoms and weren't dealing with anything, like hospitalization or extreme symptoms, that sort of thing. So based on that information, it's very likely that all individuals who have this probably will make speedy recoveries and probably won't be the worse off afterwards. But you do never know. Everybody responds to it differently, and it's just one of those things. It's the world we've been living in for the past year, and I hope everybody is doing okay. I think that New Japan has made the right decision, though, for the time being, not to run shows until they kind of get everything handled.
Yeah, it's definitely the best call here. Like you mentioned, yeah, it's a big thing. A year in and only 7 that we know of positive cases, where you mentioned other promotions, major promotions, WWE, AEW, have been running throughout the year and have had several cases. We probably don't even know the full accurate count of. And they've been having supposed tighter measurements. They've been testing. Well, AEW has been testing before every show, and then slowly WWE kind of followed suit. So,
and here's the thing too: is like they basically outlined procedure. These individuals all tested negative before they went on the road with them. Is it possible that they contracted something along the way during the tour? Yes. It sounds like they're trying to put every measurement in place to, prevent that from happening. There's also the case where not all tests are accurate, and sometimes people will be positive and will be carrying COVID, and they're so early into it that they're not going to pop a test early on, but later on they will. And I think that that's also a possible likelihood. Someone could have come in contact with something, had it, got tested, tried to do their best. They didn't know, and then it spread. That sort of stuff happens all the time. And, just statistically speaking, these things were bound to happen at some point. And I think that's something that was kind of known by the wrestlers and those kind of undertaking the risk. Wrestling itself is a risk. So, I mean, like you said, I think it's kind of amazing so far that they haven't had any other positive tests. Now, is it possible that individuals have gotten infected with COVID throughout this past year with New Japan and maybe were asymptomatic and nobody knew? That is possible. And in fact, it's probably likely, just statistically speaking. But, the fact that the company has kind of gone through all this rigor and trouble to do the best that they can. I think it speaks to, the quality of them as a company.
Yeah, definitely. I have a couple questions here. First from our user PSAN91. It says, "Hi guys, sorry I haven't wrote in with a question in a while, but I've just been getting used to my new job and life here in Yokohama. In terms of NJPW canceling both the Yokohama Stadium and Tokyo Dome shows, how much of it do you think was down to social responsibility, and how much of it was it down to NJPW having their own outbreak of COVID? I recently was watching the Japanese news, and it said that pro baseball leagues and soccer in concerts are allowed to keep running shows even during the recently extended state of emergency, as long as they are capped to 5,000 fans or half the capacity of the arena. To put it into perspective, Stardom is running a show in Corkin this Friday with an audience, and they will run Ota War Gymnasium at the end of May. To be fair, both of these venues are on a much smaller scale in terms of attendance compared to Yokohama Stadium or Tokyo Dome, but I thought it was curious Stardom is still running shows. As we all know, they are owned by the same parent company, Bushiroad, as NJPW. Anyway, thanks to both of you guys and the guests you have had on in recent weeks for getting me through my long commutes to and from work."
Thank you. We appreciate that, and happy to help. What was the question?
So the question was, how much of them canceling the shows do you think it was down to social responsibility, and how much was it down to NJPW having their own outbreak of COVID?
I think that's pretty much the same thing. I think that because they had their own outbreak, they had a social responsibility. Now let me be clear here. I don't think that everything they do is 100% altruistic and they're just canceling from the goodness of their own heart or anything like that.
Right.
I think if New Japan had the venues and the talent base to run shows as needed, they would do it. In fact, they've shown their willingness to do that all year long since they've returned from the initial, shutdown. And there's nothing, and I'm not even saying that's bad. I'm just saying that, they got to have dates. They got to have tickets sold. They got to have guys that people want to see wrestle. And those guys need to fit into the narrative of the stories that they're telling in the, the booking. And unfortunately, we were literally about to go into 2 stadium shows. What were those stadium shows going to be like? What was it going to be booked like? Who the fuck knows? We don't, in a sense, this might have been a blessing in a disguise. Not to say that it's good that anyone got COVID, but, the fact that those shows were probably going to be messes, honestly. I had a lot of concerns about those 2 shows.
Right. They already had dropped the Road 2 shows. There was nothing really to build those shows. And then coming off of Dontaku Night 2, very little angles set up. It was nothing really to advertise. We only knew half of the main event of the Tokyo Dome, nothing for Yokohama Stadium.
We never even heard about how many tickets they had sold initially, what the goals were, nothing. We didn't have cards laid out. So maybe this will be a brief reprise and give them an opportunity to build something for real the next time. I don't know. But I said that to say this is who the fuck knows, if they were going to try to do shows right now, what those shows would look like. What are they even trying to, build to? Are these Road 2 shows? Are these going to be special events? Are they one-offs? What's the deal? We don't know. So, there's that aspect of it. From a business booking perspective, I think they need a little bit of a reset in this situation because they didn't expect this. From a social perspective, yeah, 7 people had outbreaks. Seems like several of them were probably high up people that, would, basically be in top spots is what I'm getting at. And the company's shown a willingness all year to call audibles, put people, just look at Desperado and different things like that. When the time comes and it's needed, they can audible. But, when you have 7 guys down and if 2 or 3 of those guys might hypothetically be, top billed guys, what do you do? And you don't have the dates. They were kind of at a point where I think they just needed to not run the shows, especially since they were stadium shows.
Yeah, their backs were up against the walls pretty much at this point. And yeah, I think that they made the right call here. I totally agree with everything you're saying. And yeah, it's kind of a mix of both. for the safety of the rest of the roster and the fans, it definitely made a ton of sense to cancel these shows. And as far as just kind of them being the number one pro wrestling company in the country, everybody's looking at them and kind of setting the example. I think they kind of felt like that social responsibility. I mean, that's why they canceled those Road to shows even before they found out about the positive COVID test. So I think that had to play a part of it. As far as Stardom continuing to run, again, I'm not really, I've kind of been out of the Stardom loop right now. Obviously, James Boyd's been doing a great job on One Nation Radio, kind of keeping us all up to date what's going on in the Stardom world. But I know the Cinderella tournament, I believe, is coming up, but I don't know exactly if there's any big venues planned for that show, and so it might be a little bit easier for them to keep going with the Cork and Hall shows, like the one that's coming up this Friday in the Ultra World Gymnasium show, and I'll see probably a smaller crowd that they're working with there too as well. So it's probably just easier for them to keep running those shows.
Yeah, I agree.
Next question here from Dom Homie 101. He says, with the cancellation of both the stadium and dome show, what direction does New Japan take when they restart?
Yeah, that's a tough question. I mean, from all the preliminary reports we're hearing, and that's pretty much all we can go off, they are still planning to hold both of these, stadium shows when the time is right. And the early indications that we're hearing is that they're going to probably jump right back into those stadium shows if possible. So, I mean, that would make the most logical sense to me because it doesn't disrupt whatever hypothetical long-term booking scenarios they had in place. These are the shows we're going to do them, and we just roll right on. But, we've heard the same thing before with, like, say, Wrestle Dynasty last year. It was going to get postponed and rebooked, and maybe it still will someday, but it's not happening in 2021. So who really knows? I don't even know what's on the docket for June or anything like that.
I have the June schedule up right here. So they're planning to do Road to Dominion shows at Cork and Hall June 1st, June 2nd, and then a Road to Dominion show June 4th at Oda City Gymnasium. And then June 6th was going to be Osaka Joe Hall Dominion. And then June 14th to July 2nd was going to be the Kazuna Road Tour with, looks like, kicking off in Cork and Hall and then running several different venues throughout the rest of June and July.
Pretty much, yeah.
And so as far as what direction they're going to take when they restart, it's hard to say. I mean, like we said, they still plan on doing these stadium shows. They do have this Dominion tour lineup as well. I think the more interesting take on this question would be, what do we think what should be the direction when they restart? So let's say Gato calls you up into the room. And he's like, young boy, what should we do when we restart New Japan?
I mean, I don't know. I'm not a good booker. I've never been good at this sort of thing. I guess the direction you should go is, I don't know, man. What are you thinking? Like, that's tough. That's a harder question than what he asked.
For me, I mean, I think for them, I was like, first of all, you just kind of need to reevaluate everything that's happened in the last, 5 months of this year. Look at the good, look at the bad. Like, we need to no more Tai Chi, Tamatonga ladder match stuff. No more Creation of Darkness blindfold. We need to get back to the bread and butter of New Japan. Everybody's worrying about Shingo and Ospreay. We need more stuff like that. More two guys wanting to prove that they're best, going out there, having great matches. And so, I think they got to come back strong. New Japan's received a lot of criticism this year. There's a lot of fans that have kind of been brushing it off, even with great matches like Ospreay and Shingo and Tanahashi, Ospreay and Sabre. There have been bangers that have been happening all throughout this year, but it has not been quite enough to hook people who have been watching regularly. I mean, there are people within our circle that would jump normally to watch New Japan if a quote-unquote 6-star match comes out, and that we're not really seeing that excitement. So I would think, for me, I would have the focus kind of back in ring, kind of gets line some good stuff up. I mean, they were kind of teasing something like Cobb Ibushi. I think is something really interesting matchup they were kind of setting up there. I would try to focus more and kind of get some good solid singles matches that doesn't revolve around a lot of shenanigans.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only thing I can tell you is like if I could tell you like some tonal changes overall with the company, you know, maybe not lean in so much to the heat, you know, heavy sort of angles and matches and all the stipulations and everything like that. But I mean, as far as like booking wise, I don't know. I mean, I could tell you like the guys I think that they should be utilizing more. I mean, you know, Tomohiro Ishii comes to mind, so like maybe I push him. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's the kind of stuff I would do is I'd push my top talent and I'd stop focusing on guys like Sonata and
and Evil
and Evil so much. I don't know.
Yeah, and as much as I love the 6-man unit of Ishii, Goto, and Yoshihashi, I feel like all three of those guys would be better utilized in singles matches and building.
Oh, you're a liar. That's a lie. That is a lie. You cannot sit here and tell me with a straight face that you think Yoshihashi would be better off on his own than in this trio with Goto and Ishii. That's a fucking lie. Don't even start. You're saying this because you want to see Ishii on his own having singles matches, and that's fine. Just be straight up. Don't sit here and say it's going to be better for Yoshihashi. It's not going to be better for Yoshihashi.
You don't think
that is a lie?
You don't think Yoshihashi has a new found confidence now that he had his first championship? He's had some bangers in this 6-man unit that can kind of, you know, go off on his own, spread some wings, and get a little singles program.
No. No, he lives and dies with this 6-man team. Like, as soon as they drop those belts, Yoshihashi goes back into obscurity, bro. This is run.
Well, for sure, definitely Ishii and Goto. I feel like
that's a lie too.
You don't think Goto?
Not Goto either. The only one that helps is Ishii. Goto's, man.
I don't know, man. I feel like if you give Goto something to sink his teeth into, he'll be motivated and have a great singles match.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, he can always go. It's just like, you know, he's the Dolph Ziggler of New Japan. Should pull the trigger on that one a long time ago. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And as far as like, you know, United Empire, I'll say that they've been pushing him heavy and they've been doing good, but I definitely want to see Hanare, Great Okan, and Cobb picking up more wins, looking more dominant as well.
I don't know. I just, when I start thinking about like the direction where I would take the direction, it's like I find it difficult when there's no IC title. You know, because I think to myself like, well, I would use the Never title this way, but there's no Never title. You know, the Never title is the new IC title, so you know, there's kind of a gap left behind. So I don't know, man. I'd probably have Nagata beat Mox, have Nagata come back, and maybe we can turn the U.S. title into the Never belt. I don't know.
That's an option, and we will be talking about Moxley and Nagata here in a second. But yeah, I think, I definitely think that the main focus on the direction just needs to be more focused on the in-ring. Like you mentioned, less heat, less shenanigans, and kind of focus on what fans really love.
Well, I think the thing though is that overall the company's still putting on fantastic matches. You know, you'd be hard pressed to find any other company that's realistically putting on any kind of, you know, in-ring product that matches up with this one. I mean, sure, you know, you hear people rave about AEW and Noah and stuff like that, but pound for pound, match for match, they're not actually stacking up to the same level, you know, quantitatively speaking, that New Japan is. And yet New Japan is still seen as having a malaise and a downslide. I don't think it has to do so much with the in-ring product. I think it has to do with the feuds, the stories, the repetitive nature of the Road to shows, you know, the clap crowds. And, you know, I don't know, some of that you can fix with booking and some of it you can't. Some of it's atmospheric. So, you know, the overall quality is still great. You know what I mean? I don't know that that's necessarily the problem.
Yeah. But what I mean by like focus in the ring is kind of like with the feuds, like let's less, fighting about gloves and bow staffs and, inanimate objects and hoods and turning lights off, and like let's the feud, like we want to prove that we're better than you. So that's why we're fighting right now.
Yeah. I mean, there's some truth to that. And I think that that's a booking, issue. That being said, we've kind of talked about how a lot of the formulas that Gato has followed kind of, they fall on the fact that there are certain seasons in New Japan based on the tournaments, based on the big shows and business and everything like that. And so some of it is predictable, which is, good and bad. That has completely gone by the wayside this year when it comes to COVID and everything. And I think that that's a big, influence on why things seem to be the way they are. I think the fact that they've had to audible and shift time after time when they have these plans in place and they get disrupted. I mean, with all things being considered, I think Gato's done a fantastic job. Truth be told. I mean, it's not the same as just booking once a week, weekly television like Tony Khan. It's not. And, both of those have different challenges and everything like that. That being said, I do still think that they've allowed themselves to indulge in all the cheating and the shenanigans and the heat and everything like that. And it's just become tiresome. And so, yeah, I would definitely get away from that. But, the other thing too is like I think that they really are at the tail end of a lot of these different long-term talent story arcs. I'm not saying that, like, say for instance, a Naito needs to leave the company. I think there's a place for him and everything like that. But I mean, I would really start focusing on the younger talent that's in the company and preparing them to take the mantle from these other guys. We've seen that with some individuals, obviously with Will Ospreay and the United Empire, but there's some guys that I just think might be getting underutilized or being built a little too slowly, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like Okan.
Right. And I mean, there's only so many times you can see, Ishii and Goto in the G1 or, Naito and Ibushi. And I'm not saying I hate those matches, but, they wear out their welcome when you've done the same match time after time after time after time. And how many interesting stories are really left for some of these guys, And I think that you have to start thinking about maybe maneuvering some of them into other positions in the company and preparing to bring up the next guys. And if you don't have guys ready, you might want to start thinking about acquisitions and trying to get some of these guys on the outside, not just those who are on your New Japan Strong, but, like Bryan Danielson. Huh?
I'll say freelancers, utilizing freelancers in Japan.
Freelancers that are in Japan might not be a bad idea. That would definitely be something for sure. And then also, some of the free agents that just happen to exist out there, your Chris Heroes, your Samoa Joes, maybe younger guys with more upside. I don't know, but they need to do something because the product just feels stale right now.
Right, and I know that COVID has a big issue with that too because they're not really bringing in a ton of the outside talent like normally would. I mean, a guy like Robbie Eagles, we haven't seen him since the beginning of the year, and they seem to be kind of, going in and out with some of these guys. They got Finn Juice in Impact right now. So for whatever reason, they're kind of not bringing in a ton of guys in all at one time. That's definitely hurting the product too because you need those guys to kind of get some different matchups, get some fresh matchups, especially with the New Japan Strong roster. That there's a ton of great guys on there that they could bring over to Japan, have some fresh matchups, inject some life into the product.
Yeah.
And so speaking of New Japan Strong, we're going to shift focus there. This past Friday kicked off the beginning of the Collision Tour, which which is going to be a 4-week tour here for New Japan Strong. And I gotta say, man, I'm really loving New Japan Strong. I'm loving the main events that are laid out for the next couple of weeks, and I really enjoyed this week's episode. And I feel like they have really been doing a lot of the things that we talked about that need to change earlier on. We're getting more feuds, more promos, more things that are building to angles, long-going feuds, not these random matches. There are stuff that's constantly building stuff. So really like the direction.
Yeah, and maybe there's a chance that, we already know that there's individuals working in the U.S. office that listen to this podcast. I don't know how much influence our suggestions, were, but, I think it's kind of cool that it kind of coincides with the most recent set of tapings. And, we were saying this maybe like 5, 6, 7 months ago. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm sure, wrestling's not the most complicated thing in the world. I'm sure that most of the suggestions we made, other brilliant, pundits alike have made those same suggestions, or maybe even those that are in management on the booking committee, who knows. But yeah, I agree with you. I think that there are, storylines that are going, there are feuds that are, kind of easy to follow, but the biggest thing is just the matches are no nonsense. They're quick. They're to the point. It's an easy watch, 1 hour, and then you're kind of out of there, and it's easy to kind of, get, invested in what they're doing. And I agree. I think that it's been the best thing that New Japan has done this year, honestly.
Yeah. So this past week, like I mentioned, we had night 1 of the Collision Tour kicked off with Adrian Quest and Barrett Brown defeating LA Dojo Young Lions, Kevin Knight, and the DKC. So 2 stories going on here. Barrett Brown, he's been looking for his victory in New Japan Strong. We've been talking about the last couple of weeks. He's been desperate to get that win because if he doesn't get wins, he eventually could get cut and not be brought back to New Japan Strong. And the previous week he was on the winning side of an 8-man tag, but his partner stole the pinfall, so he's upset. And so once again, we're seeing him team here with Adrian Quest. And Adrian Quest, quote unquote, stole the pinfall from him, so he thought they won the match, and then post-match, he got upset, beat down Adrian Quest, and we're building to a feud between these guys here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if this is quite on the same level, but, this slow build, slow burn kind of turn that they're doing with Barrett Brown, like, it reminds me a bit of, like, Owen Hart in 1993 going into 1994, like, how he kind of had a chip on his shoulder, and he was trying to prove that he, wasn't in the shadow of his brother, but that he's his own man. And things kept, inadvertently happening to, just circumstances to kind of piss him off. And he was like a delusional heel,
Right.
Kind of the same thing with like Chris Jericho, when Chris Jericho was the crybaby heel when he first turned in WCW. So we've seen stories reminiscent of this, and I think that they're very effective when done right. And it's funny because it's like Barrett Brown is wrestling well in these matches already. Like he's really asserting himself, trying to show that he has what it takes, and then he's not getting the W himself. The team is winning, and he doesn't want to be the guy with the assist. He wants to be the guy, making the slam dunk, making the game buzzer beater.
Right. He wants his music played at the end of the match.
Right. Yeah. So like he's almost got like short man syndrome or something. Like, like he's not satisfied with the team winning. Like it's got to be about him and his success. So, yeah. And it came down to a point where there was a blind tag. He had literally hit Kevin Knight, or was it? I don't know. It was Kevin. Yeah, I think it was Kevin Knight. Hit him with the the whatever that kick is. What's that kick called? That Drew McIntyre does.
Oh, the Claymore.
Yeah, he hit him with the Claymore kick. I don't know what that's supposed to be called, but yeah, he hit him with the Claymore kick. And then Adrian Quest comes in, hits him with a high flying move. 1, 2, 3. Barrett Brown wasn't aware that there was a blind tag. He thought he was still the legal man. And, Adrian Quest kind of capitalized on the moment, but Barrett Brown sort of thought that he had things locked up, and he's beside himself, just incensed with rage. The fact that this guy got the W, not him.
Right, yeah, he cut a post-match promo, and like you mentioned, that kind of delusional heel, like, how could you, like, do this to me kind of thing, and, you stole the win from me kind of thing, and you're so selfish, and so, also, Adrian was just trying to get the win for the team, and Barry Brown's kind of spinning this whole other direction here, and he challenged Adrian Quest to face him in a singles match on New Japan Strong, so I'm sure in the coming weeks we'll get a singles match between these two guys here. And also, kind of another little side story is just, Kevin Knight and DKC just trying to pick up a win as well as Young Lions. And on the LA Dojo Showcase, Kevin Knight kind of expressed some frustration about losing as well. And so both of them were just kind of like, man, we have to keep grinding in the LA Dojo. So also these guys are, looking to get their wins here on Strong as well.
Yeah.
Then in the second match of the night, we had the NJPW Strong debut of the West Coast Wrecking Crew, Jarrell Nelson, Royce Isaacs, former NWA Tag Team Champion with Tom Latimer. And also we've seen Royce Isaacs on Bloodsport having that feud with Alex Coughlin. So these guys, they made their debut here, and they defeated the team of Strong regulars in the Golden Boy, Jordan Clearwater, and a Big Poppy Pump, Mysterioso.
Does Jordan Clearwater have the absolute worst hair in the history of wrestling? Like, every week he gets in, I'm like, God, who the fuck told this guy? Like, he's supposed to be, they talk about how his day job is he works in finance. And I'm like, God, I hope, like, he's working from home and he doesn't have to be in board meetings. That hair is so fucking bad.
I hadn't really analyzed his hair. That's always thought it was fine.
Bro, it's like a mushroom on the sides, and then he's got it pulled back like into an onion man bun in the back, and then it's
little top knot.
Yeah, and then it's high fade, and it just doesn't make sense. It's overflowing on the sides like a bowl cut. It's really bad. It's really, really, really bad looking. I don't know who did that shit. It reminds me of those memes where they go to the barber. They're like, just fuck me up, fam. They're like, that's what happened. And they're like, I got you.
Oh man. So Jordan Clearwater and Mysterioso, they lost here to the debuting team of the West Coast Wrecking Crew. What were your thoughts on Jarrell Nelson and Royce Isaacs here?
I think there's some bitches, bro, because they came in here, they got tassels on, bro. Tassels, okay?
Did they have tassels on? I know they
Royce Isaacs had tassels on his boots like he was the Texas Tornado or British Bulldog circa 1992, right?
Yeah.
Well, what kind of wrestler are you if you got tassels on? You tell me.
You're a high-flying, exciting babyface?
Yeah, you're going to be a high-flying, exciting babyface coming off the top rope, doing drop kicks, doing double elbow fist drops, shit like that. No, these guys come out there and they want to wrestle like they're the world's greatest tag team, Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin. Bro, you can't come in early 1990s Technicolor, matching gear.
They had Steiner Brothers, Technicolor gear on.
Yeah, they had Steiner Brothers gear on, and then they wrestled like they were Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin. What the fuck, bro? No. Actually, I'm just busting their balls. The reality is, I really like this tag team a lot.
Well, Jarrell Nelson did do a suicide dive at one point, so there was a little bit of high flying from them.
Bro, it's 2021. Everyone does that. That's not, I mean, Jay Lethal does 3 of them in a row.
Right, yeah.
But no, for real, I'd never seen this team. I know Royce Isaacs. I did not know Jarrell Nelson, but I'm a sucker for any team that's, got a cool name like the West Coast Wrecking Crew. I mean, I'm an even bigger sucker when they come in with coordinated outfits.
Yes.
And I've seen Royce Isaacs wrestle before, and he didn't dress this way. So this is special wrestling gear that they wear as the West Coast Wrecking Crew,
right,
which I'm an even bigger fan of. Yeah, they remind me of teams of years gone by. They remind me of Steamboat and Youngblood, a little bit of Briscoes in there. Kind of reminded me of the Minnesota Wrecking Crew. yeah, and these guys were really technical, really hard hitting, and I'm looking forward to seeing them wrestle some more. Yeah, I thought they were pretty impressive.
Yeah, they're a really good team. They've been on AEW Dark a couple of weeks ago. They did a couple matches on Dark and Elevation. My first time seeing them together as a team. Like, I've seen Royce Isaacs in NWA and then seen him on Bloodsport. Yeah, but the first time I seen him with Jarrell Nelson was on AEW Dark, and they're a real good team there. And yeah, they are really good here, really impressive, like you mentioned. Kind of a throwback as far as tag teams. Work was really snug. They did have some great kind of double team combos throughout the match here, and they just kind of seem to control the ring here, and it's kind of the veterans, so to speak. Even though Clearwater and Mysterioso have been on Strong longer.
Yeah, they cut a promo post match. I didn't think that was very good, to be honest with you, but the majority of independent wrestlers are not good at promos because they don't have to cut very many of them.
Right.
But yeah, I thought these guys were super impressive. I hope to see them again. I just wonder who they're even gonna feud with, because I mean, there really are no established tag teams on Strong that I can think of.
Right, which also led me to an interesting comment from Kevin Kelly during the commentary. He said that in the future there's going to be some opportunities for tag teams here on Strong, which I'm thinking, do you think that they're going to introduce Strong tag team titles?
Might as well, right? I mean, we kind of mentioned this in the past. We said that Strong is, quickly becoming like the sub brand of New Japan, sort of like NXT was and is for WWE. So, I mean, I think it's just a matter of time before you see tag team titles. I mean, who knows, man? We might be on the verge of women in New Japan Strong. I would not be surprised at all if if they introduce a women's division down the line for New Japan Strong.
Could happen, yeah.
It's North America. It's not Japan. So, I mean,
right.
I wouldn't be surprised by that one bit. But, yeah, I mean, I could see that being the case. The big thing is, like, okay, you got the Regal twins. What other established tag teams kind of exist, unless you're counting, like, the different members of Team Filthy,
Right, yeah, it's Team Filthy. I mean, every once in a while, Bull Club guys pop up. You can throw a Bull Club team together.
Remember when GOD was on this show and they, like, just run roughshod over everybody because there was no tag teams?
Right, yeah, you could obviously bring GOD in for some shots. The LA Dojo Young Lions, I mean, it seems like Fredericks and Connors will kind of be a team. Then you got DKC and Kevin Knight. You could do, like, Narita and Coughlin.
Yeah, but those are just guys thrown together. They just happen to train together. I mean, I want to see, like, who are the tag teams? The guys
right.
that, like, come out and do a matching fucking intro together. That kind of doesn't exist right now. So these guys right here, this West Coast Wrecking Crew, they might not even really have much opposition to really go through to establish themselves as, like, the first dominant quote unquote tag team, on the Strong brand.
Right. And who knows, maybe this is, they're the first of many independent teams that get brought in to kind of help fill out this tag division.
Possibly. I don't even know what tag teams exist out there, to be honest with you.
Let's get the Ugly Ducklings in here.
Yeah.
Let's get a OAO in here. We'll find some teams for them. But, yeah, also, too, interesting thing with post-match promo with Jordan Clearwater and Mysterioso. They kind of expressed disappointment in losing to, a new team, new guys on Strong. And Mysterioso's like, man, come on, what's going on, Clearwater? We've been on Strong for over a year now. We should be getting this win. So there's some kind of miscommunication between those guys, and it seems like they might be teaming up some more. There might be a story between Clearwater and Mysterioso going forward.
Mysterioso should just fuck up Clearwater. That's what needs to happen. How about there were some, like, really terrible attempts by freaking Alex Kozlov, where he was, like, trying to I don't know, he was just trying to, like, play that role of, like, the heel commentator who just loves Mysterioso, and so he comes up with all these like
random facts.
And he's like, but the way he delivers them have like no, I don't know, just no pop to them. Like there's no hotness about what he's saying. Like he's like, did you know that Mysterioso is the only man or woman alive that can divide by 0?
Yeah.
And then it's totally, and Kevin Kelly completely no sells the shit, because you're supposed to usually have like that rat-a-tat-tat between the color commentator and the the color guy and the play-by-play guy, and like Kevin's just like, huh.
I mean, there's only so much Kevin could do.
It's like, God. And it's like, he, like, I get what he's trying to do. Like, he's trying to do like Jesse Ventura lines, or like, like he's fucking, whatever his name is, the dude with Kenny right now.
Don Callis.
Yeah, I'm tired, bro. I'm just forgetting names. But yeah, he's like doing a Don Callis shtick, but like he's saying it with like no, I don't know. There's just no, I don't know what the word is, but yeah, it sucks.
Yeah, I mean,
conviction. There's no conviction to what he's saying. He doesn't believe what he's saying.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there could be somebody else. I love you, Kozlov, but I feel like there could be somebody else that could join Kevin Kelly.
Bro, I think the world is listening to 2 of them right now.
Yeah, let's get a 3-man booth going. I'll fly to California, do some tapings.
I'm here on this show literally right now trying to think of the word conviction. Can you imagine like Kevin's frustration as I'm like, what's the fucking word? God, I don't know. You guys just go. I don't know. Forget about it. Just go. Are we on the air? Is this live? Can we just edit this shit out? Like, I don't know.
We're live, pal. Oh man. But
what's that guy's name? No, the guy. No, his working name.
Oh man. But main event here on Strong this week, we had the Dirty Daddy Chris Dickinson and the IWGP US champion, the Death Rider Jon Moxley, defeating Ren Narita and Blue Justice Yujinagada 9 minutes 18 seconds. Also, a really good main event here. Nice preview for the upcoming U.S. title match tomorrow on Dynamite. I really like the interactions between Moxley and Nagata. A lot of great striking there. Nagata busting out his exploder suplexes. He's working over the arm to do his his arm bar roll in the eye back spot that he normally does. And then Narita and Dickinson kind of picking up where they left off when they faced off in the New Japan Cup USA. A lot of strong strikes between those two. Narita, the suplexes were looking great as usual. The closing stretch when he was there in there with Moxley, he was just throwing Moxley around.
Yeah, you got 4 of my favorite guys all mixing it up. I mean, what's not to love? If anything, I was just upset. 9 minutes, 18 seconds. This probably could have been given a little bit more time for my taste. And you could have cut down that Wrecking Crew match. I would have been fine with that. I thought that they didn't need 10 minutes, but, whatever. It is what it is. But, yeah, this match was great. Everyone got to shine. They got to get their shit in, hard hitting. And, at the end of it, Jon Moxley fucking puts Narita away with a sick-looking Death Rider. Like, bro, he fucking in New Japan, he kills people with that Death Rider. Like,
yeah,
people do not take the shit like that in AEW. It's so great.
This is a strong style paradigm shift.
No, bro, it's not. The paradigm shift, I've come to the conclusion the paradigm shift is a different move than the Death Rider. They look the same, but they hit different. Yeah. It's different, bro. It's not the same shit.
Yeah, dude, he kills it with the Death Rider. And I love this,
bro. And also every week when he comes out, which isn't very often, but when he comes out, my girlfriend's always like, "Why is he so much better in New Japan?" Because he rules.
Yeah, dude. I love Death Rider, Jon Moxley, and I also love that the continuation of the story with Narita and his finisher that they've been building up. They started in Japan. He can do the belly to belly, but it's with the bridge at Narita Special number 3 when he gets the bridge and it's game over. He failed to get the bridge on Moxley here. or on Dickinson. And so, yeah, Moxley was able to kind of capitalize, get the Death Rider, put them away. Post-match, we had a face-to-face with Nagata and Moxley, and it broke out into a brawl. Nagata was able to lock in the Nagata lock. He had it locked in, cinched in. All the ring attendants and Chris Dickinson were trying to pull Nagata off. Couldn't get him off. Took 5 guys to get Nagata off of Jon Moxley.
Yeah, I really like the post-match angle. Really looking forward to the match, which, we're recording Tuesday, so tomorrow night. By the time you're listening to this, it might have happened or, might be happening, same day. But, yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. And, this was awesome.
Yeah, really.
There's nothing else for me to say.
Yeah, really great job just building up the U.S. title match and also keeping the Dickinson Narita rivalry alive as well. I love.
There ain't no rivalry. Narita beat that man's ass. No, I'm just playing. Actually, that's got to be what the best strong match ever. Probably in my opinion. No, the Narita Filthy match was better.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're both up there, man.
Yeah. And I love Nagata's promos. I love that he calls him Mr. Jon Moxley every time. That's been great. And so yeah, a lot of great build here to the U.S.
I think match. He's channeling some Loki energy,
Yeah. Also, I love that Nagata, he came out with a robe. I don't know when the last time he's come out with an entrance robe. Normally he comes out with a Blue Justice shirt, but had the entrance robe on. He's serious.
He's in America, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been all over social media, calling himself the world's oldest 53-year-old. I don't know if that's a weird translation thing.
Yeah, well, he's been doing that. He's always called himself. Last year was the oldest 52-year-old. I'll do my best today.
I'm the oldest 53-year-old. Dog, no, you're not. There's 53-year-olds that are older than you. What the fuck are you talking about? But I love that shit. Yeah, his Twitter game, him and Kojima, they're on a different level, bro.
Yeah, dude, it's awesome.
Just putting wholesome shit up between them and Suzuki sharing his stance socks every day. I love that. I love, that generation of New Japan guys. It's great.
Yeah. Before we talk about the U.S. title match, I think now would be a great time to tell who our guest is going to be next week. So, tease the beginning of the show.
I reached out and I said, Dirty Daddy, we need you. We need you on the show. There's nothing else to talk about at this point. And, you're the best, You're
the best around.
And he said, absolutely, I'll do it for you. And, not for Jeremy. And so me and Dirty Daddy, Chris Dickinson, we're going to be having a one-on-one sesh. Jeremy can listen, but he can't speak or contribute. That's actually my birthday present is it's just gonna be me and here's the thing, guys, we're not gonna be talking New Japan. It's just gonna be us talking about UWFI, and Takada and shit like that. So I'm sorry. We're not even gonna talk about Strong. It's gonna be weird.
Well, I'm glad you have that plan, but what's actually happening is, yes, the Dirty Daddy, Chris Dickinson, will be on Keeping It Strong Style next week. We'll be talking about his wrestling career, time on Strong. He has an upcoming open weight title match against his Team Filthy teammate, Tom Lawler. We'll be talking about that. I'm sure there will be some UWFI discussions as well, Bloodsport discussion. So looking forward to having Chris Dickinson on the show next week.
I want to talk to him about that time he fucked up Dan Severn and why he had to go so hard on that man like that. Why'd you have to fuck him up for real? That's disrespectful.
So like we mentioned, the main event of Strong this week was to build up the upcoming match here on Dynamite, the IWGP US title match with Jon Moxley defending against Blue Justice, Yuji Nagata. We have a few questions here about this matchup. First, from an user Lord_McDonald's, assuming Moxley doesn't drop the belt to Nagata this week, who does he drop the belt to? Does he even drop the belt before he makes a return to Japan?
I literally don't know.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, with the COVID restrictions and Moxley not being easily able to get in and out of Japan, I really don't see a point to take the belt off of him at this point until you kind of have somebody that's maybe on his level and you're ready to get the belt back. But I think this whole, relationship that they got going here with Moxley being able to work strong and then have some New Japan guys show up on Dynamite, I think is great to kind of get that lion mark in front of that million viewers on Dynamite and to kind of have the synergy and building matches on both shows. I think it helps get the New Japan brand in front of some Western eyes and bring some attention there. So at this point, I don't see why he needs to drop the belt until maybe he can go to Japan.
I don't know, man. I just I do kind of get it, but it's like, it's not like he's coming out every week on AEW with the belt. I do think it's good that he's defending the title on Dynamite, to kind of get more eyes on the product, awareness, like you said, synergy and everything like that. So that is really cool. I was not expecting it, to be honest with you. But in the context of, the fact that it's sort of a trade-off, like we talked about last week, the last time they did a big match with him and Kenta, the big singles title match was on Strong. The preview tag match was on Dynamite. This time things are kind of reversed. So it kind of makes sense how they're doing things. But I do wonder how long this sort of situation is going to be allowed to kind of persist,
Right.
How many other title defenses are we going to see on AEW? It feels like this is kind of a novelty, sort of a rarity. And, with Tony Khan sort of being like a big wrestling nerd, I'm sure like the idea of having Yuji Nagata on TNT after 20 years, that's not the worst thing in the world to have going for you. I don't know what it's going to do for like the overall ratings and everything like that. I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who have no fucking idea who Yuji Nagata is or anything like that. But, product awareness is important. So that's cool. But I'm just kind of at the point where it's like, I don't know if it's like, I don't know if it's the most beneficial thing in the world to have that title locked down on Jon Moxley anymore, while he holds credibility and he's a big star and some of these things that they're doing are cool. And I'll admit that for sure. I'm also just kind of wondering, like, couldn't you be doing other business with somebody else and benefiting somebody else by putting that title on their waist that's working for you year round,
Right.
And I don't know. I just get the weird feeling that we're not going to see the big trade-off, like I wonder who is going to beat him for the title. I don't know. It feels like it has to be a big name. And I don't know,
Right, and which I feel like with it being a big name, that will help kind of establish the U.S. belt as a top title to be defended in Japan. Maybe you have a guy like Tanahashi come over and he wins the U.S. title in the U.S., brings it back, or you have somebody like, I know Jay White's currently never a champion, but maybe eventually a guy like Jay White steps up and faces Moxley.
Yeah, that's cool and all. But, like we talked about earlier in the show, I sort of feel like they should be focusing on the next generation of young guys,
Right.
When you have a title reign that has gone on this long, which has also included some pretty incredible title defenses. In fact, I think you'd be hard pressed, even though the title has been so inactive and that might hurt the credibility of the title reign historically speaking. When you go match for match, I don't know if anybody else outside of maybe say Kenny Omega has had as good of a run with the US belt as Jon Moxley,
Yeah.
I think you're saying at least since Kenny Omega, nobody has had this many good, matches for the title. But I really think the inactivity kind of is the biggest thing that hurts things. And I say all that to say this. It's like, if you're going to build this guy up and have him be this dominant champion over this really long length of time, it feels like someone else should get the rub from that, and I think it would kind of be, just a missed opportunity to go with your standard Tanahashi or an Ibushi or something like that. Like, I think you need to establish someone else that's younger, and I don't know if AEW and Tony Khan and the politics and everything like that is going to sort of allow it. I thought Kenta kind of was the perfect guy to beat him. And, who knows? We might even see, I mean, I don't think anyone thinks it's likely, but I mean, we might see Yuji Nagata beat him tomorrow. I mean, he's a guy that like Jon Moxley probably obviously really respects and could bring the title back. I think it's highly unlikely because he doesn't lose very much on AEW television.
Right.
But I mean, stranger things have happened, so who knows?
Yeah, he could pull up an upset like he did in New Japan Cup to Suzuki, pulled that Blue Justice hold out of nowhere. But yeah, I do think Moxley's winning. Do you think that there's a story to maybe tell with Juice Robinson being the guy to kind of beat him and get the belt back?
Not the way he's dressing and looking these days. No.
I like the current look he has right now with the afro and the kind of blue and gold gear they got going on.
Nah, bro. Cultural appropriation, bro. No, I'm just playing. But no, in all seriousness, I just I don't know. The reality with Juice is Juice as a singles competitor, as a serious singles competitor, has not been the same since he dropped that belt to Jon Moxley.
Right.
So is there a story that could be told? Yes. But I don't think it's a story of sudden redemption via beating Jon Moxley's the key. I think that they needed to have been telling this story for at least some period of time, and they haven't even started telling that story. So I don't know, man. I'm not really there with you right now, to be honest with you. I think they need to I mean, he's a tag guy. That's what he is right now, and maybe down the road, but we're talking a pretty lengthy amount of time. And like, I don't know how much longer I want to see Jon Moxley sort of hold this belt in perpetuity, just having the occasional title defense here or there.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think they'll be fire with it, especially if we're going to get more of it being featured on Dynamite. I mean, this past week he had matches on Elevation and Dark. He came out with a title for both shows. The Road to show they did on YouTube had a great feature there building up this U.S. title match and talking about the U.S. title defenses and talking about Yuji Nagata and kind of just explaining his history. So that was some great stuff. If you guys haven't seen the Road to show, you should definitely check that out. And so they're doing a lot of stuff to kind of get the New Japan name out there and build it up. So I think if we
but at the same time too, I mean, is there a possibility that and yeah, it's synergy. Is there a possibility that some folks who are watching AEW will maybe potentially be turned on to New Japan? In the past, I would say not really, because I would just figure the majority of the fan base knows New Japan already.
Right.
But as they've kind of grown a home-based audience and we've had some time to kind of separate those, the elite from New Japan, yeah, I think there could be an audience that's being exposed. But I also wonder if maybe this is something where AEW is kind of just hoping to bank on the idea that those who saw Mox in Japan and those who are familiar with the AEW product via the stars from New Japan tune in to watch this, and maybe it's a chance to kind of nab them up as viewers. And the reality is, like, sure, there's some nutsos like us who are diehards and watch everything, but there's only so much attention you can kind of devote to one thing. And for most North American viewers, is it going to be the product that is sporadic or on a app that's in Japanese, or is it going to be the show that's consistently on week in and week out on TNT and everything like that? Like, so that's, I don't know. I think it almost might benefit AEW more that they're sort of getting a little bit of a rub from featuring New Japan. Like, this is the cool, fresh, exciting thing that we're doing that WWE doesn't do. We're working with outside companies.
Right.
Check us out. And then they're the ones who are kind of getting the bigger benefit from this than I think maybe even New Japan really is.
Yeah, I will say one thing. There does definitely need to be more of a push, I think, of NJPW World and where to watch Mox when he's on there. Because for the Kenta match, they didn't really mention like New Japan Strong or tell you how to watch the matchup. And then this preview tag match, they really didn't mention the preview tag match or on the road to they showed clips from it, but they never really said, you can subscribe to New Japan World to watch this tag match, or they didn't really build, hey, go watch, Mox and Dickinson against Narita and Nagata. So
that's all great and good and everything. And again, I think this is a make good for the push previously with Kenta, but let's think about it this way. The last time that there was this kind of synergy, everything was pointing to a big match that was occurring on New Japan World, right?
Right.
So in that situation, yeah, I do think that the person who got the better end of the argument was New Japan. In this case, I think clearly AEW is the one who's benefiting more. Because while, yeah, New Japan's kind of being featured, it's a New Japan talent and a New Japan title, AEW is the one that's going to get the, the rating for it. They're going to get the advertising money for it and everything like that. And it's great that they're pointing people towards NJPW World. But at the end of the day,
not really though. They should be doing it more. They really don't. I don't think they really said like NJPW World on the air.
Okay, I thought you had just mentioned that because I didn't watch those other shows. I thought that's something that you'd said.
No, that's what I was saying. They showed the clips from the tag match, but they never really said this is on NJPW Strong. You watch this every Friday on New Japan World.
I misunderstood. I thought you said they were doing that, and I was like, okay, that's great, but and that's good. But even if they had been doing that, which they need to be, so much fewer people are going to go out of their way to subscribe and pay money for that versus free television network cable.
Right? Yeah.
So that's my one thing. And I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer. I think this is cool, but I'm a realist about the situation. I think in this case, it's kind of benefiting AEW more than it is New Japan.
Yeah. We had a question here from our user Wiz Factor. As much as I'm excited for the U.S. title match, is there a risk that the Strong Style Wrestling will not go over with the TNT audience? I'm sure many hardcore wrestling fans are looking forward to this match, but maybe Japanese style wrestling has never gone mainstream in the West for a reason.
Nah, I totally disagree. I mean, every time guys go out there and they beat the fuck out of each other, people love it. So, seriously,
yeah, I don't think this match is gonna tank the ratings at all or anything. I mean, they've done a good job in hyping it up. I think it's billed as the main event for the show.
I would disagree with you there.
Wait, you think it's not gonna do well in ratings?
No, I don't think they've done a good job promoting it whatsoever. So, and this is where I think you and I differ. If you are watching their social media, and if you are watching the supplementary programs that they put out on YouTube and things like that, yes, they're covering it. Yeah, it's being promoted. But where's the real promotion for this company? It's on the television product. They haven't had any of those features that you mentioned in the Road Twos on the TV show.
Well, I mean, last week's Dynamite, Mox cut a promo on Nagata. They did show the clips of his U.S. title defenses and Nagata's.
They did 1 week. That's not enough. They announced it 2 weeks out, and then a week before it, they shoehorned his promo and then some footage. That's not enough to make sure that this performs well. I don't think it's going to perform that well, to be honest with you. Your average viewer who does not view the outside supplementary stuff doesn't really know who Nagata is and don't really have a strong reason to be invested in this emotionally for any real reason. Now, it might do well if the match is in fact good, mm-hmm. But I'm just telling you, from a perspective of someone who doesn't watch AEW, there hasn't been that much promotion for it on the actual television show, which is where the majority of people who follow the product get most of their information.
Yeah, but I don't see it like completely running viewers off, and I don't think.
No, I don't think it's gonna run people off. But I mean, we were kind of surprised that the Kenta match didn't do so hot, and I think it's a similar situation. People didn't know Kenta either, you know.
Right. Yeah, but I don't think the strong style aspect of the match is gonna like go over the head. I mean, this is gonna be a live episode. It's gonna be a live crowd. You're gonna have a hardcore fan base that's at the show that's gonna enjoy it, and I think a lot of people are gonna end up enjoying this matchup.
Oh, I'm really looking forward to the match itself. I think it's gonna be awesome, and I think the reality is most people have a bloodlust. There is a reason why fighting, boxing, and things like that, go over well with people viscerally is because it's not that complicated. Two guys going out there and punching each other and hitting each other, and it being very snug, tight, and you hear the pop, you hear the sound, you see the contact. That's always going to go over well with wrestling fans. Like I don't think at all that those who are watching are going to be, are going to see the action and decide to go take a bathroom break. I think the one other good thing this match has going for it is, while, yeah, people might not know Nagata, Mox is a huge rating star. So the fact that he's in a big title match of any sort, that's still going to work in their favor. So,
yeah. Should be interesting to see how everything plays out with the match and the ratings later this week. So questions from Dom Homie 101. Thoughts on the upcoming IWGP US title match between Moxley and Nagata, and is it possible that we could get a IWGP US title on an AEW pay-per-view in the near future?
I wouldn't be opposed to that, but I don't know if they have the license to. Let me put it this way. I don't see Gato allowing them to book a feud for his title on their product at all. I don't see them being able to do that whatsoever unless Gato was heavily involved. That might change things, but without that aspect to it, I don't see it.
Right. I feel it would have to be a situation where the guy, whoever's challenging, would have to be featured on Dynamite for multiple weeks. So it can't be the kind of random, oh, by the way, at Double or Nothing, Mox is going to face Kojima. Like, no, I think the guy would have to be on Dynamite 3 or 4 weeks, do some preview matches on Dynamite, kind of build it up, do some promos to build up for the pay-per-view.
In that scenario, you're mentioning like if a New Japan guy of some sort were to come into the company and challenge. But, there's also the alternative. What if, like, for instance, I don't know, Ricky Starks or Darby Allin or someone like that got a shot? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But this isn't like we did see Kenny Omega defend the AAA Mega title, but like that's a title they don't give a fuck about,
Yeah, right.
I just don't see New Japan sanctioning or allowing anything like that to happen.
Right. I feel like it would have to be a New Japan guy. Who knows? Maybe they could even agree to something like Mox Archer, like a former New Japan guy, like Mox and Archer, or maybe like Mox and Carl Anderson, somebody that they kind of have a relationship with. That they try. I think as long as Mox is not losing, I don't think it'll be as big of a deal. But I think if it's going to happen on pay-per-view, they probably would want a New Japan guy on there.
Yeah.
Then last question here from Rainbow Slam Pig. What is your favorite Yuji Nagata match of all time?
Oh, that is a tough question. Do you have one specifically?
See, I mean, this is tough because, I haven't really watched, Nagata, I didn't really watch all of his run in real time. A lot of it's been a recommended match of the week or kind of re-watching stuff or just watching his current run. But one of the matches that kind of pops up into my head, and I think a lot of people might laugh at it, but it's from the G1 2017 Yujinagada versus Yoshihashi. It was actually one of the first Yoshihashi singles matches I ever seen, and it made me think Yoshihashi was like super raw at the time. But that match was really an awesome match, very hard hitting. It was a great matchup.
While I wouldn't say this is Nagata's best match, it's probably my favorite match is the match from January 4th in the Tokyo Dome 2004 against Kensuke Sasaki, the bloodbath match.
Yeah, we watched that as a recommended match of the week. Yeah, that match was awesome.
Yeah, that match is awesome, and it does not get enough love, and it's probably the bloodiest match in New Japan history. So yeah, I mean, I could go on and on. There's a lot of Nagata matches that I like a lot, but that's, in my opinion, it's my favorite one.
Yeah, I also really enjoyed the match that's the free match of the week this week, the match with Suzuki from Wrestle Kingdom. That was a pretty good matchup.
Oh, free match of the week. I was like, that's not what you recommended to me.
no, the New Japan free match of the week.
Which match with Suzuki is it? That's the Wrestle Kingdom match?
Yeah, Wrestle Kingdom 7.
Yeah, that match is awesome. I mean, the series he had with Suzuki last year is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
The match with Ishii from New Japan Cup 2019 is like fucking nuts. The Kijimuto G1 final in 2001 that we've covered that. His whole series with Tanahashi.
Yeah, Tanahashi matches are great, yeah.
Yeah, the April 3rd, 2011 match, that's probably Nagata's best singles match of all time. And that's like one of his final IWGP title shots. But they had a feud in 07, a feud in 010, 11. Like, yeah, their matches are great. Him and Kenta Kobashi and Noah. Like, there's a lot, man. Him and Murakami in 2002 at the Dome. That's another bloodbath. That match is fucking crazy. So, I mean, yeah, there's some really great stuff out there.
Yeah, but I also just love seeing Nagata beat up young lions. So,
yeah, there's that too.
So we have some matches upcoming booked for the next couple of weeks of Strong on this Collision tour. So night 2 of the Collision tour will happen this coming Friday, May 14th. We'll have Rocky Romero facing a debuting wrestler named AJZ. We'll have the return of the headbanger El Phantasmo as he teams up with Hikuleo to take on Leo Rush and Fred Rosser. So continuing those two feuds there. And then the main event will have the elimination match with Carl Fredericks, Brody King, TJP, and Clark Connors taking on Team Filthy, Tom Lawler, Chris Dickinson, J.R. Kratos, and the returning Danny Limelight. Then on May 21st, night 3 of Collision, we'll have a no disqualification match between Fred Rosser and Hikuleo. And then the Collision tour will conclude Friday, May 28th with the first ever NJPW Strong Openweight Championship defense as Filthy Tom Lawler defends against the Dirty Daddy Chris Dickinson. Like I mentioned, Chris Dickinson will be joining us next week, and we'll be asking him about this upcoming Strong Openweight Championship matchup.
Yeah, we're going to get real. Rambo and Slam Pig has asked us, are we aware of any interviews or discussions about Shibata's philosophies as a trainer and or how he runs the LA dojo? I'm really fascinated by the dojo system in general and how the LA and Japan ones contrast.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's the California Dreaming thing that they did on him that kind of looked at the LA dojo. We really don't have a ton of information on kind of how he trains. I mean, we have a friend here on the Florida independent scene who attended one of the LA dojo tryouts, and it just hasn't worked out for us to have him on here, but I'm sure he can probably give us a little bit more info on kind of at least the dojo tryout. But as far as like the day-to-day and kind of the differences between the LA dojo and the dojo in Japan, I'm not really sure.
Honestly, because there haven't been that many interviews, I would say Google. Google's going to be your best bet. There have been some interviews, especially when they were running some of these shows out in LA around that same time when he was in the area. We kind of got some interviews with Shibata, kind of getting his insights, and then, like you mentioned, the documentary. But other than that, I mean, there's not much more that I know. Just kind of the tidbits we hear on commentary, the things we hear from the wrestlers, that sort of thing.
Right, and we had Carl Fredericks on last year, who kind of talked a little bit about the training and the schedule there at the LA dojo. That's in the archives. You can go back into our interview with Carl Fredericks last year around this time. Besides that, yeah, that's about what we got. Maybe Dickinson might have some insight for us next week. So real quick, just a few quick news items here. There was a interview on NJPW1972.com called What Next with Kota Ibushi. First part of two-part interview. His first interview after his world title reign. Kind of the big talking point coming off of that interview was him saying that, majority of people were not happy about the merger of the unification of the heavyweight title and the IC title. I think he said something like 99% or something like that of the people who were not happy with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so once again, it seems like they're trying to, kind of kayfabe their way through this and kind of put the blame on Ibushi.
Yeah, this wasn't no stop the steal shit. This was unanimous. No one wanted that shit.
Like I mentioned earlier, the free match of the week from New Japan is Minoru Suzuki versus Yuji Nagata, Wrestle Kingdom 7 in the Tokyo Dome. That's free on YouTube and NJPW World. And now some Impact updates. So last week on Impact, El Phantasmo made his Impact debut by defeating VSK. ELP this coming up week, he's going to be in a number one contender X Division Scramble match where the winner will face the X Division champion Josh Alexander at the Under Siege Impact Plus special this Saturday, May 15th. Also this week on Impact, we had Gallows defeating Juice Robinson as they build up a six-man tag at the Under Siege Impact Plus special. It's going to be Finn Juice and Eddie Edwards taking on Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers. So that's what's going on in Impact with these New Japan guys here. And then we just have a few more questions here and then recommended match of the week, and we'll close out the show here. So from Grunty Dodds, he asks, if you guys didn't have a podcast, what do you think your NJPW viewing habits would look like? Would you skip the Road 2 shows, cherry pick the best up, quit altogether once Evil became champion?
I wouldn't have quit when Evil became champion. I mean, honestly, my viewing habits right now are pretty much what they'd probably be either way, regardless of the podcast, because, my schedule has been extremely busy as of recent. So, I mean, it's pretty much when there's a big event, I watch all of it. When there is like Road 2 shows right now, honestly, I'm kind of skimming through most of it unless there's a match of significance. If it's, the same Young Lions tag match, against Hanma and XYZ, Hansai member, like kind of just skimming through it, or it's just background noise at this point, like realistically,
Yeah, if it's, Jado and GOD versus Doki and Tekkers for the 100th time.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, because of the abundance of Road 2 shows with the abundance of rematches, it's kind of made matches that were already seen as being redundant by a large portion of the audience, even more so. And, we're getting fewer and farther between actual progressions of the storylines because, quite frankly, very often they don't know where they're going because, they're having to kind of play it a little more conservatively because, how can they commit to a particular feud if but when the day comes, they came and do that, that match or whatever, what have you. So, yeah, I mean, I would say a lot of these Road 2 shows have become more redundant, even if we still are getting as many shows as we've always gotten. The actual amount of, quality story for a lot of these matches and the stakes and everything, that's kind of been lacking.
Yeah, for me, I think it would be, if you asked me this a couple years ago, it might be different because I feel like the more I've learned about New Japan and I see the Road 2 shows, you do get a lot of the added elements to the big matches. If you watch the Road 2 shows, you kind of see some, maybe there's a body part that's being worked over, some kind of story that they're telling. But like you mentioned recently, we've seen a lot of redundant matches. It's just been a lot. So I think now, if I was not doing the show, I mean, I'd still watch all the big shows. I would look at the Road 2 card and see what's on the card. Obviously, if there's going to be a never six-man title match on Road 2, I'll watch a title match on Road 2. But if it's going to be a long tour, where you have the same 6-man tag, 10 shows in a row. I'm not going to watch that 6-man tag 10 times just for fun.
Yeah, I mean, and this was a totally different story. Just back in February, New Beginning tour, all over those shows. Watching the whole thing because they were short and there was some really good shit. But this Dontaku Road to Dontaku tour kicked my ass. Like, there were so many matches that were rematches. There were so many shows in a short period of time. Like, sometimes, like, enough's enough, man. Like, can't watch that Empire versus LIJ, tag match where Bushi's going to get pinned over and over and over again,
Yeah. Last set of questions here comes from our user Dom Homie 101. First he says, so what song by Jermaine Lamar Cole, aka J. Cole, remind you of Evil?
Deja Vu. Because every time it comes out, the same shit happens, and I swear to God, it's deja vu. I don't know how the fuck, Another one, Lost Ones. You know why? Because lately this man's been losing a lot of matches, and he has to account for all the lost ones that he has. The man's a loser. Get him the fuck out of here. Another one, Lights Please, because he keeps trying to make it dark. I'm trying to see the lights, please. Fuck Evil.
Oh man, yeah, I'm not familiar with J. Cole songs, so yeah.
Bro, I don't know any J. Cole songs. I'm just going through his
pulling up Spotify.
I'm just looking at all the songs that here's another one, No Role Models, because that man Evil ain't no sort of fucking role model. Fuck Evil.
So his next question, thoughts on the return of FMW?
I don't know, man. I haven't even looked into it, I don't know if in 2021 we need FMW anymore, I mean, I guess in a sense it will kind of be the same because from what I understand, Onita is the one heading it up. But I don't know, man. It just kind of feels like a cheap, cash grab,
Yeah.
And I mean, who's trying to watch, Atsushi Onita wrestle in 2021? Not me.
Yeah, it's just kind of one of those things of it's kind of similar to the Federation Rush thing. It's like who's funding this? How are they gonna get guys for this wrestleless deathmatch style and draw from it and make money from it and actually make it last more than one show?
Well, I mean, here's the thing, back in, and I can't speak for Japan, because I don't know what the economic situation was like. Although I think there's always been a novelty factor and a showmanship, especially in the early days, to what Onita and crew were doing, And then as time went on, they were able to kind of host a wide spectrum of talents that the crowd was able to kind of connect to, most notably Hayabusa, but there's quite a few others, and sort of kind of create their own fan base that sort of became diehards. And if you really want to know who you should look into, Bahu FMW, that dude Bahu BHU, he's the keeper of everything that is FMW. And so, I mean, if you really want to get the scoop and the information on this, that's who you need to be listening to. But I mean, they were able to they had their time. They were able to cultivate a fan base. They had a faithful following. They went through many different phases and, periods of the company's history. And then it went away, and it's been gone for a long time. And, Onita was gone from it for a long time too, especially towards the latter end and the latter half of the company's existence. So, I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, is it still FMW? I mean, it basically it's not. It's just a new company with the same name with the original founder kind of heading it up. But I mean, it's going to be interesting. There's a Dark Side of the Ring coming out on FMW, and there's probably things people don't know about. The Yakuza connections, the suicides, You know, there's some scummy stuff that Onita did that's gonna like that. I mean, like diehards know about it, but I think the majority of people don't really know about it. But as far as like the fan base in America, there was always this sort of thing where like the people who saw it here, we always kind of felt like privileged, even if the wrestling wasn't that good. It's like, damn, like, you know, most wrestling fans over here are watching like Slamboree, and I'm seeing an exploding time bomb death cage match, you know?
Right.
Well, that's kind of gone. I mean, I guess there is some element of that still, but I mean, it's so accessible now. I don't know how much of a novelty that really holds for a majority of the fan base, you know?
Right, and this is something that Kim Wood mentioned on Wrestling Observer Radio with Meltzer and Gary Gonzalez. He was talking about, you know, he felt so special. He got the Meltzer tapes, and he was able to watch, you know, Tiger Mask and Dynamite Kid and watch all this Japanese wrestling that nobody else really had access to. And so, you know, and that was a kind of big thing, you know, tape traders, you know, people wanted, it was a hard thing to get access. Not everybody saw that, and so you kind of felt, you know, special in a little club if you were able to see stuff from Japan. Like you mentioned now, yeah, there, you know, we can watch anything. You know, we have New Japan World. You can watch, you know, there's Cyber Agents thing with Noah and Tokyo Joshi Pro and DDT, and it's so easy, everything's so accessible, so it's not really that kind of like exclusivity of like, oh my gosh, like this is kind of a secretive thing and I got a hold of it kind of thing. So that kind of aspect is definitely gone. So moving on, he says now it's time for some fight talk. Thoughts on the Floyd Mayweather and Jake Paul gotcha hat confrontation. Was it a work or was it a shoot? In my opinion, I think it was a semi-work on Jake's side, but I think Floyd's reaction was legitimate because he used that hat to hide his lack of a haircut. Floyd got caught lacking, so he had to leave Jake Paul leaking. I also think it's funny how Floyd and the Paul brothers took the spotlight away from Canelo on the week of Canelo-Saunders fight.
Yeah, well, that's kind of true, but I mean, I don't think the promotional team behind Canelo are doing the most fantastic job promoting his shit anyways. I mean, his last 3 fights have been very much under promoted, and I think it has to do with the fact that, you know, he split from Golden Boy into Zone. So, yeah, I don't give a fuck about this thing. You know, I'll just be honest with you. I just really don't care about it. Like, it's kind of beyond circus show. Like, I just don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the whole gotcha hat confrontation thing, and yeah, I thought it was just pretty lame, and like that's the way you're trying to like build up excitement for this fight. Let's do that kind of lame confrontation. So
I don't know, man. I'm seeing the Triller lawsuit that's coming out, and it actually got thrown out like yesterday by the judges or whatever, and you know they're trying to sue this H3, whatever that is, some guy on
like a
YouTube
podcast network thing.
Yeah, and they're going after him because he's calling out Logan Paul for, you know, his sexual abuse allegations, which are probably true. So, I mean, I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, Triller, that whole thing, for those of you that don't know, Triller was, you know, trying to create a lawsuit where they were going after reportedly every single streamer, individual person who watched the most recent Logan Paul against Ben Askren fight. They were going to sue every single individual to the maximum penalty, which was, I think, $150,000. And they were trying to get a judge to, like, you know, push forward with the case against all these different streaming sites. And I'm not saying I promote streaming illegally or anything, but what I am saying is that they literally were like trying to get like $2 or $3 billion in this like case.
Yeah, and they were trying to say like all these people like working together to
that it was a conspiracy.
Yeah,
and then they came up with a web page that said they were going to give people that viewed the stream 1 month for amnesty, where they could pay $50, and if they paid the $50, and it was actually on Fight TV, was the was where the amnesty page was set up. If you pay them the $50, you'd be off the hook. You wouldn't have to you'd be released from any further court proceedings. But if you actually read the fine print, that's not true. What they were actually getting people to do was pay them $50 and then be open for any future lawsuits and expose themselves as being someone who definitely streamed. And like, to me, it's like these kinds of fear tactics are like something only a really, really shitty company does. And I'm just seeing the fights they're putting together, the business tactics they use. Triller's a fucking joke, bro. I want nothing to do with them. I'm never going to watch anything related to them. I'm going to stay far away from this fucking company because, and I mean, Mike Tyson, fought in that inaugural Roy Jones fight, and like he wants nothing to do with them too. So apparently something funny happened with the money on his side too. So I don't know, man. I think those Paul brothers fucking suck. Like, and I was sad to see, fucking Floyd looking old too.
Yeah, he's looking rough.
But to me, I've never seen Floyd not looking on point, and I'm wondering why he didn't like just shave his head like he normally does. Like, to me, it just kind of tells me he doesn't take this shit seriously.
Right. I think,
like at all. I don't think like at all on any level.
Yeah, I think for him it's just a quick cash grab. He knows he's going to tear this dude apart, and
right.
He's just going to get some quick money.
Also, the one thing I will say is when him and Logan Paul did the face-off that I did see on Instagram, there's no doubt in my mind he fucks his kid up in one round.
Mm.
I'm talking about fast. That's what it looked like. Like, this kid looked like he was looking death in the eyes, and he's so much bigger than him too. So I don't know, man.
Gonna give him that knockout punch he gave Big Show WrestleMania 24.
Yeah.
Then his last fight question here. He says, any thoughts on Canelo Alvarez versus Billy Ho Saunders fight? In my opinion, it was a fight that exposed both fighters. It exposed Billy Ho as a fighter who was just a title holder and not a true champion. Billy Ho fought like an afraid fighter and proved to the world that he's just a domestic UK fighter with no heart. I don't want to hear about no injuries because I see fighters with worse injuries that didn't quit. It also exposed the fact that Canelo was the same fighter that he was when he fought Mayweather. And he's lucky that guys like Terrence Howard, Errol Spencer Jr., and possibly Jamel Charlo are not super middleweights because he would have tough times with them all. But I do believe Canelo improved in the mental aspect of boxing, and that's due to Canelo having big fight experience. That's also why I think Canelo would be the odds-on favorite over the guys at 168, 175, and that are also include guys like Demetrius Andrade and Jamel Charlo at 160. There also needs to be no more light work for Canelo, and he needs to fight the best competition because he got a lot of options out there.
I totally disagree with most of that, respectfully speaking. But, I mean, first off, I don't know. I've never heard of many fighters fighting through a broken orbital bone. I've been watching fighting almost all my life. I could think of a couple injuries that have been sustained by fighters where they kept fighting, like broken jaws and stuff. Like Arthur Abraham comes to mind, but bro, I don't know, man. Like, Canelo's one of the fucking scariest, like, strikers at that weight class, and he fucking broke his face. He literally broke his face. Unless you've had your face broken, like your cheeks and your orbitals smashed, the shit that holds your eyes and your face together, like, I don't know if you should be saying that, to be honest with you. I've never been a big fan of when a fighter quits, knowing what these guys go through, saying that like they're a club level fighter or didn't have heart or what have you. Like, that's usually not the case. The only qualm I had with the fight was I thought that the judges had it a little bit too far apart. I saw that most of them had it like 4 rounds to Canelo. And I kind of thought like he was ahead by maybe 3 at the most. I thought the fight was good. And I also disagree with that assertion that he's the same fighter that fought against Floyd. I mean, if you watch his body movement and his ring IQ, that's clearly not the case. And he's fought some very great fighters at all different weight classes, some very slick and powerful guys. And the reality is Billy Joe Saunders, one of the best fighters at 168, and would probably beat most of the guys that you listed, to be honest with you. And some of those guys are undersized too and underpowered. Not all of them, but some of them. I mean, he already fought Danny Jacobs, who's just as slick and just as crafty as most of the guys that you listed, and that sort of thing. So it's like, I don't know, man. I mean, until someone beats Canelo, I mean, he's a guy that went up to 175 and fucking destroyed Kovalev. Like, he's beaten the best fighters between 154 and 160 and 175. So until someone like fucking pieces him up, like, I can't sit here and say that he's ducking it. I mean, he's not ducking those guys. If anything, I think most of them don't want to fight him. So, yeah, I mean, would I love to see him fight like, Jermell Charlo and the Charlo brothers and Jarrett Hurd or whoever? Like, sure, But, I mean, he is right now unifying the 168 weight class. He just beat another world champion. He's got 4 or 5 of the world titles. He just has to fight Caleb Plant. And that is the fight he's looking for, and he will be the undisputed 168 champion. And he's undersized for 168. He's a natural – he's undersized for 160. He's supposed to be a 154 pounder. So, like, I don't want to hear this he got exposed shit, because this kid's been beating everybody for years and years. And I'm not even, like, a Canelo guy. But, like, come on, bro. He's a fucking killer. He's one of the best ever. He already might be – he's amongst the top 5 greatest Mexican fighters of all time right now. And he probably is going to go down as the best. So I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, interesting thoughts there. Might have to have a Dom homie on one week, you guys, to debate this.
Well, I mean, just watch the fight.
Well, last thing here, recommended match of the week. So if you listened last week, you know that I had originally picked a match that we had already watched. It wasn't a recommended match, but it was a part of the Nakamura series that we did last year. And so throughout the week, I found a new recommended match for Josh to review and talk about. And you guys also, you can watch it this week along with Josh's pick this week. But I went ahead and picked Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Koji Kanemoto, February 18th, 2007. This was for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. Josh, what do you think about this matchup?
Yeah, so I watched this match today, and I got to tell you, Jeremy, I think this might be the best pick that you have ever made for recommended match of the week. Literally. I'm not the biggest guy when it comes to, like mid-aughts New Japan Pro Wrestling, So there's a lot of like big stuff I've seen, but I'd never seen this Kanemoto Tanahashi match from the anniversary show. This match was freaking awesome. So, I mean, you had grumpy old man Kanemoto, who, I think is kind of dipping his toes into the heavyweight scene, but spent the majority of his career as a junior, obviously, kind of playing like a dad role. Not unlike like a Minoru Suzuki today for reference. And then, except not as maniacal, but just as badass. And then you've got a young Tanahashi who is in, I believe, his first title reign at this time. And, he's not fully accepted by the crowd, as evidenced by the reactions to him. And this match just fucks so hard, bro. Like, Tanahashi's out there, trying to be like the ace and the top guy in the company. And, you see a junior going up against him, and you're going to think to yourself, like, oh, they're going to play it like a big guy, little guy. No, like Kanemoto beats the piss out of Tanahashi in this match. And it starts with flying knees, and then leg kicks and then all these elbows and slaps. And like, he just starts, bro, these kicks to Tanahashi's chest. Like there's no thigh slapping going on here. Like these kicks are so fucking loud. And like Tanahashi is getting battered.
It's like a real man match for Tanahashi.
Yeah, this is like Tanahashi's real man match, bro. This was not unlike Shibata and Okada. Like that's kind of a good comparison. Just Tanahashi's going through it, and at a certain point, like he realizes like this man is just beating the fuck out of me. Like I can try to out wrestle him, but it's not gonna be enough. Like I'm gonna have to fight him, and he goes toe to toe. There's one slap exchange where they're just like both going wild. Like I love this match. I love the psychology around it, the pacing. It only goes like 21 minutes, so it's not overly long. All the biggest hits, if you're familiar with Kanemoto's work, he gets all his shit in. It's all violent. And then Tanahashi, is just an incredible bumper, incredible seller. We see him, break out some of the fabled offense that, we haven't seen in years gone by. Some of the past athleticism, great drop kicks and, cool spinning final cut, stuff like that. And then at the very, very end of the match, there was one small package where like Tanahashi had kind of turned things around, and Kanemoto's just like, fuck this. I'm gonna roll his ass up, and he hits him with the small package. And like, I know that he never won the IWGP title, but for like a half second, I thought he won.
Bro, so did I. It was literally Tanahashi kicked out at like 2.999, and I was like,
Yes.
holy crap, what a kick out.
Yeah, the timing, they milked it. Like, they're just both such great performers, and they could have easily made this into a match where like you see Kanemoto as a no-hoper, but it's not just us watching it, it's the crowd. The crowd, for whatever reason, well, New Japan was in kind of a tumultuous time, and the title had been changing hands a bit more regularly at that time frame. So for whatever reason, they were just really behind Kanemoto. They wanted to see him win. They were really behind him. And then at the end, Tanahashi, breaks it out, and he's able to beat him. But we even see a kick out from Kanemoto of the high fly flow, which I don't know if that was his definite finisher at the time, or if it was more of like a
signature.
I don't know if it's a finisher or one of his signature film or moves. But yeah, like I popped for him kicking out of the high fly flow. I was like, holy shit.
And I was like, man, high fly flow's been weak since 07.
Just a great match. Such a really good little hidden gem. Yeah, if you haven't seen it, I give it high recommendations. I think I like this match better than the Kanemoto Marufuji match that I recommended a few weeks ago, which I think most people probably disagree with me. That one's a little more epic and goes longer, but this one's just like such a great little title defense. Like, I loved it.
Yeah, this was an awesome match, and yeah, I kind of fell in love with Kanemoto when we did the Final Countdown series and reviewed some of his matches in those finals, and so I was like, yeah, let me just look up some more Kanemoto stuff. And so he saw that match with Tanahashi. I was like, well, this can't be bad, and yeah, it was just awesome main event, awesome title match, and Dave Meltzer went 4.5 on it. It's in the upper 8s on
it holds up, man.
Yeah, upper 8s on Cage Match. I'm also 4.5 on it. It's an awesome match.
Yeah, that one definitely holds up 100%. So, you kind of got me in a late 2000s kind of mood. So wanted to throw something out there. This is actually a match that I've never watched, but it's got high recommendation, so we could both watch it. I have seen the previous match between these two from the Tokyo Dome of that January 4th that year. This is the rematch at New Japan New Dimension on March 30th, 2008. Hiroshi Tanahashi against Shinsuke Nakamura.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, this is amongst the best matches ratings-wise that these two ever had. But, this is in 2008. So, I mean, you're getting a completely different version than, full on Ace of the Universe Tanahashi and full on, King of Strong Style Nakamura. This is, the early portion of the storied rivalry that they had with one another. So this is supposed to be the best match between the two of them from that time period.
Nice. Looking forward to checking that out. Can't go wrong. Tanahashi and Nakamura, even with earlier in their career. So looking forward to checking that out. And we'll be back to review that next week. And also next week, we'll be back with an interview with the #1 contender for the Strong Openweight Championship, the Dirty Daddy, Chris Dickinson. We'll also review week 2 of the Collision Tour. If you enjoyed today's show, please consider making a donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and click on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. Make sure you connect with us on social media. On Twitter, the show is @KIStrongStyle. The network is @SocialSuplex. You can follow me @Jeremy L. Donovan on Facebook. We're Facebook.com/SocialSuplex. You can also find us at the Wrestling Squared Circle Facebook group, Facebook.com/group/Wrestling Squared Circle. On Instagram, we're @SocialSuplex. On Reddit, I'm the Pro Black Guy. Just Keeping It Strong Style. Email me, Jeremy @SocialSuplex.com. Check out all the other shows here on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We have One Nation Radio, hosted by Rich Latta and James Boyd. We have the Ricky and Clyde Wrestling Show from Scotland. Grave Consequences with Caleb and Maserati. The 8-Bit Suplex with Josh number 2 and Sandy. All Things Elite with Floyd and Austin. And the Great Match Generator with Danny. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating and review. And we will catch you next week on Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts.
Ichiban.
Thank you for listening to Keepin' It Strong Style. We'll see you next time.
Breaking up is hard to do, but when it comes to your wireless carrier, you should have left a while ago. You're over the big 3 carriers. You deserve better. Xfinity Mobile. Now you can get unlimited with 5G included for just $30 a month on the nation's fastest, most reliable network. So break free from the big 3 and save with Xfinity Mobile.
Take the savings challenge at xfinitymobile.com/mysavings to see how much you can save when you get Xfinity Mobile and Internet together. Reduced speeds at 20 gigabytes per line. Most reliable based on Root Metrics US report. Results vary, not an endorsement.